Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and with the recent nerfs just happening, I thought it'd be a lot of fun to take a look at times where Hearthstone cards were just so good, the card was so powerful, that Blizzard decided, you know what, we're gonna absolutely murder the card with the nerf, and it basically never saw play ever again until it was either reverted later on or just still doesn't see any play to this day. And there are times where there's fringe uses of it and all of that, but overall, these cards were kind of destroyed and were just a little too good. So let's take a look at 10 times Blizzard Hearthstone destroyed a card. So at number 10, this is a pretty recent addition to the list from Forged in the Barrens. We have the Watch Posts, the 2 mana and 3 mana Watch Posts. They both lost a health point, and all of a sudden they lost relevance on ladder. They're a little bit lower on the list because they're still playable. You see it in like Tax Paladin and Wild. Some standard decks try and throw them in, particularly the 2 mana Watch Post. But overall, they went from being very good, very strong cards to just really bad and basically irrelevant, and it was quite the drastic thing. It just the play experience they created where they didn't let your opponent play cards nor really play minions because the Watch Post would either make the cards cost more or summon 2/2s was a little bit too frustrating experience, and they kind of stopped it before it really got going. At number 9, we have a Warlock card in Blood Bloom. This was not nerfed until it was basically only in Wild. It was never relevant in Standard for the most part. It was 2 mana, and you could make one spell cost health instead of mana. And well, when they made Darkest Hour, it created a juggernaut in Wild in Darkest Hour Warlock, where you'd play this, a bunch of like summoning imp spells, and then just get a bunch of giant minions and win the game. It created this insane high roll that was just very unfun to face, and just, yeah, pretty much that. It wasn't ever like the top deck in Wild, but it was up there, and it got nerfed to 4 mana, double the cost, which effectively killed the card and also knocked it out of like the whole Mechathune combination. There was a Mechathune Warlock OTK with Bloodbloom as well. So that card has not really seen play since, and I haven't even recrafted it because I haven't even bothered to meme it up with it at all. Like, it just doesn't really do much at all anymore. At number 8, we have another pretty recent addition, and this is kind of a weird one. I'm going to kind of put it all together because a couple of these cards haven't really been nerfed, but one's been even reverted. But regardless, the Shaman Hero Power. The Shaman Hero Power was nerfed, which took the spell damage totem away, which effectively nerfed Spirit Claws and Maelstrom Portal in Wild. Particularly Spirit Claws, where you really need spell damage to make that card work, and all of a sudden you don't have that hero power, you don't have the spell damage totem, making Spirit Claws so much more or less consistent. It also nerfed Baku in a way with like Odd Shaman. There was so many indirect things it nerfed that I just feel like I gotta put the Shaman Hero Power on there, that it's kind of made a lot of cards that were built around spell damage a heck of a lot worse to near unplayable because, well, you don't have that 25% roll, and you literally have to play a spell damage minion from in hand to make it work, and that can be rather frustrating. At number 7, we have another Shaman card, and it's not the last one. Shaman's got nerfed a lot. Tuskar Totemic. 3 mana 3/2 TGT minion. Originally when it came out, it had battle cry of summon any totem. It would summon any totem. So you could get a totem golem, a flame tongue totem, a manatide totem. You'd be able to get the new totem Goliath or whatever, the 5/5 that got buffed. It would be able to get that if it stayed that way today. And it was just way too good. It was just ridiculous. You played this, if you got like a flame tongue, you got a manatide totem, you basically won the game. You got a totem golem, you won the game. And they nerfed it to the point where you just get a random like basic totem, one from your hero power, and then the card is absolute garbage and sees almost no play. Even like the totem decks, like where you like Witch Doctor or whatever, you still want a Tuskar Totemic. It's still really bad. We even saw a 2 mana 1/1 in the game that would summon a totem. That didn't even really work, and you could pick your totem. This one was completely random, and yeah, after it got nerfed, basically irrelevant for its entire run. At number 6, we have the Mage Minion Mana Worm, the 1 mana 1/3 originally minion that would gain +1 attack for every spell you cast. It was a permanent thing. It was infinitely scaling, and it was ridiculously good in Tempo Mage, and that was before we had like the whole Apprentice Cyclone, all that shenanigans going on. It would have gotten only worse. So they nerfed it to 2 mana, which basically killed the card. It never saw play at 2 mana that I can ever recall. It was just hot garbage, and it has been reverted back to a 1 mana 1/2 where it doesn't really see play still, but as a 2 mana 1/3, unplayable garbage, and this card was absolutely massacred. But honestly, it was for good reasons, and I totally understood that one, but maybe it could have made it a 1-4 or something just to try and compensate. I don't know, but overall, yeah, definitely killed off the card. We have the last Shaman card here at number 5 with Flame Tongue Totem. Originally a 2-mana 0/3 totem. They give adjacent minions +2 attack, and well, it got nerfed to 3 mana and it died. It died a horrible death. 3 mana for that effect was brutal. No other thing was compensated. Like, you see a lot of these, you know, like first day of school, right? They got nerfed to 1, but it gave you 3, and they've tried to do some more of these not so destructive nerfs. But yeah, Flame Tongue at 3 just was unplayable. And even in like Odd Shaman, where, you know, you could play it, still terrible. Didn't really see any play. And another card that's been partially reverted, it's now a 0/2 2 mana and also sees like no play. So I see some play in even Shaman, I guess, in Wild, but overall, yeah, the nerf version just destroyed the card, but it gets a lot worse from here on in. The last 4 here are pretty brutal. So number 4, we have the neutral minion Naga Sea Witch. We talked about this in a recent video, so I won't go too in depth about it. But originally 5 mana, then they changed the way mechanics worked with how you cheated giants. All of a sudden you could cheat giants out on turn 5 for 0 mana. So they nerfed this by 3 mana. 3 mana. It went from 5 to 8. We've only seen that once before, and we'll talk about that later on the list, where that's happened. And yes, Naga's completely irrelevant card. It was completely and utterly destroyed by this nerf in Wild. They just didn't want that to be a thing. They wanted to kill it, so they didn't even risk a 1 mana or a 2 mana buff. They just obliterated this card. And yeah, Naga Sea Witch is obliterated and sees like no play in Wild. At number 3, we have a rogue card, Leeching Poison. This was a 2 mana spell originally, and it would give your weapon lifesteal. And this was a permanent effect. And when you had a card like Kingsbane in the game, and you could buff it, well, you could hit your opponent for insane damage while also healing. And even with like Doomerang, you would double dip on the healing, which created this ridiculous Kingsbane in both Standard and Wild, especially in Wild, where you have like oil and all these ways of copying stuff, Coldlight Oracles to mill. It was just absurd. It was really fun to play. I was such a degenerate. I love playing this, but people loathed it. So they nerfed it to 1 mana. So technically a buff, right? But only Leeching Poison for 1 turn. You only get lifesteal for 1 turn. Kill the card. Like, that 1 turn of lifesteal just was not worth running the card. And even with like the whole buff thing now, where you can play the shank card and this counts towards it, upping the durability, still sees absolutely no play in any Wild deck, period. And I kind of miss it. I know why. It should never be unnerfed. I know it's terrible, but I don't care. I'm a degenerate heart, and I'd love to see it come back at some point. I am kind of evil. At number 2, we got yet another card that got nerfed by 3 mana, and that's Starving Buzzard, the Hunter card. This has been reverted. This has actually been reverted, so this is what it is now, which is a 2 mana 2/1. Every time you summon a beast, you draw a card. And well, they nerfed it by 3. By 3. This, like, they're like, Hunter shouldn't have this type of card draw. This is too cheap and efficient. So no, we're not going to make it 3. We're not going to make it 4. We're going to make it 5. You are never going to play this card again. And it basically saw 0 play. Death Star, Hunter main, I'll give him credit. I still see him make play out of this with like Dire Frenzy and Link's Paw and like the Spring Paw stuff and that shenanigans. He tried, but my God, a 3 mana nerf is pretty much gonna murder a card, and it certainly did for this one. And it's been reverted. It sees a little bit of play in Wild now. It's not so busted anymore, but back in the day, it was pretty insane, and well, it outright got gutted. And before we get into number 1, I have a few honorable mentions. The aggro trio of cards, I'm just going to throw all of them in a little honorable mention. Abusive Sergeant, Leper Gnome, and Knife Juggler all got nerfed. Abusive Sergeant lost an attack, Leper Gnome lost an attack, Knife Juggler lost an attack. 2 of them have since been reverted, with Abusive Sergeant still not reverted and basically has never seen play since. And Leper Gnome and Knife Juggler, again, they didn't really pop up anymore. It was Knife Juggler a little bit, I think, in Call to Arms decks, but other than that, really not much at all. And then Sack Pack no longer could target enemy demons. Really hurt the this card. It was really good in the Demon Hunter meta, where you could kill off like Priestess of Fury or whatever. But overall, Sack Pack, it was pretty a fringe card for most of its run, but definitely by nerfing it really took it out. Now it can't even kill Jiraxis, so maybe they should unnerf it, because Jiraxis is safe. So a nerf sack pack. Anyways, our number one, and I mean, this is the most predictable number one on any list I probably have ever had, and that's Warsong Commander. Literally, the term Warsong Commandering a card means destroying a card, and originally this minion would give your minions with 2 attack or 3 attack or less charge, and then it all of a sudden gave your charge minions +1 attack. Like, literally changing what the card did. It gutted and destroyed it. It was because of Patron Warrior. You could do absurd OTKs with Grim Patrons and Frothing Berserkers and all that. It was a really, really powerful deck, a really hard deck to play. Even at like its win rate across all ranks was actually sub 50%, but when played perfectly, it was like the highest win rate deck they probably had ever seen, and they just wanted it, you know, for future reasons with all the other cards. You can imagine the combos you could have done with Warsong over the years if it stayed the way it did. And yeah, they literally killed the card. They killed the card, made it basically a worse raid leader, and that's a neutral. It's just brutal. And then they unnerfed it eventually, but not quite, where it gave your other minions rush, which, you know, is playable. It's not terrible. It's like an okay arena pick, but doesn't really see ladder play. So there you have it. There's my list. Let me know in the comments below if there's any I missed out on, any you disagree with, and you know, maybe can we unnerf Leeching Poison and let the evil Zeddy come out and do horrible things? If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.